good morning and welcome to the Retired Living True series, and today's topic, support at home, navigating your options.
Exactly. So we're glad that you're here. Brett and I, we focus on helping people downsize and we sell their home. So you may be wondering, why on earth are you talking about, thank you, why on earth are you talking about staying in your home? It's because we want what you want. We want you to have the knowledge and the ability to stay in your home as long as you possibly can. And that's why we're bringing in a team of experts that can help you with that. And as things change, because everything changes, we want you to be able to have that knowledge of what you need to do to improve your home so that you can age in place.
Yeah, this topic's kind of dear to my heart. I'd just like to share a little story about my nana, my mum's mum, my grandmother. Yeah, so my nana had a big part in my life, and I loved her to death. I spent a lot of time with her. I'd go stay with her, and we had a great relationship. I remember, like, on a Christmas morning, waking up at some early hour of the morning when I was probably 6 years old and rustling through the Christmas presents at the end of the bed, and I was staying in the same room as my nana, and she goes, "Brett Anthony, go back to sleep." But I have lots of really fond memories. But the reason I bring up my nana is she was very independent, very active. She was in her 70s, probably late 70s, and she had a fall. She was walking out of the front door of her home to her car, and she slipped. Unfortunately, there was no handrail to grab, and she fell, and she broke her hip in the process. So most of us recover from a broken hip, but unfortunately they had to do surgery, and then she had an infection, and then they had to amputate her leg from up here. And she loved her independence, and her plan was always to stay in her home and age in place. But because of that, she never got to go back to her home. She spent quite a bit of time in the hospital, and then they told her, you can't go back to your home. There's no way you can look after yourself. And unfortunately, we don't have, back then, where I grew up, they didn't have like in-home care agencies to help and so forth. So she was moved into a skilled nursing facility, a skilled nursing home, for lack of a better word, where she was pretty much bedridden and depressed and miserable because, she loved being active. She'd drive all over the place, she'd go visit family and friends, and she ended up passing away there from something so simple and preventable as a fall. So I hope that never happens to anyone in this room. And there are things we can do to prevent that. And our panelists will just talk a little bit about how prevalent falls happen, how common that is. They'll have some statistics. And again, just things that we can do to make our homes safer so we can age in place and live long, fabulous, fantastic, independent lives. So with that, did you have anything you wanted to add, Annette?
No,
No.
you said it all. Yeah.
I'd like to have my panelists come and join me up on stage. Sorry for getting emotional. I hope my nana is looking down on us all today as we all work out how to be safer in our homes. Oh, there goes the clock. So maybe if I could start with you, Kerry. Could you please introduce who you are and why you're here today?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. I am Carrie Ingerman, and I'm a board-certified patient advocate. I had health issues of my own about 10 years ago, which made me really interested in patient advocacy. Along with that, we saw my grandmother who had difficulty getting care along with family friends. So I started Comprehensive Home Health Solutions with my parents, Dr. Alexander Ingerman and Dr. Sandra Weitz, to provide in-home care.
Thank you, Kerry. Kim.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kim Spalding. I'm a senior home health specialist with CenterWell Home Health. I have worked in the community for the last 20 years, mainly in home health and hospice care, as well as working with dialysis patients. So keeping people home is a passion of mine, and I love being able to help patients find the right care at the right time for them.
Thanks, Kim. Jason.
Good morning.
One more time.
One more time. Hello.
Just check that it's definitely on, Jason.
It's on.
One moment.
Test. Oh, there you go. Good morning, everyone.
I'm Jason Verdon from Safety Squads. I'm the business development manager. We're basically a home safety handyman service, but we do safety checks in homes, and we look for potential trip and fall hazards along with other things in the place. Inspired by our founder Jeff, and he had aging parents, and he watched what was going on in their home, and it touched my heart with my mom being 88 years old, and I got involved with him to help him grow the business and bring it out to the community.
Thank you so much for all being here. So Kerry, could I start with you? What are some of the common things that we might encounter in our home that we need to be aware of in terms of challenges as we want to age long-term in our homes?
So I would actually group the different challenges into 3 buckets. One is the physical component, one is cognitive, and one is social and emotional. So with aging, sometimes we have health issues, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's osteoporosis, where we might be more prone to bone breaks. Having our physical body be well is one piece of it. The second piece is cognitive. So as we get older, our executive functioning may decline. So we may need a little bit more help planning appointments, getting to doctor's appointments or running errands, managing our day-to-day household, our finances. And then the third, and often overlooked, is the social and emotional component. I have a statistic. The National Academies of Sciences found in a 2020 study that more than 1/3 of adults over 45 feel lonely, and 1/4 of adults age 65 plus are socially isolated. And I mention this because being connected with the community, having reasons to look forward to waking up every day is so important. And you guys are all doing a great job by being here, by being out in the community, connecting with others to address that. But we'll continue going over in more ways how these problems show up in our lives.
Thank you, Kerry. So Kim, did Kerry answer everything, or is there more in terms of the challenges that we face as we age in our
No,
homes?
she did an amazing job of answering that question. I would just say, from a home health perspective, and what we see is like with your Nana, I also call my grandmother Nana, so I love that, is one of the biggest things that happens to someone who's generally healthy is they do have a big health event, and it can change temporarily or permanently their ability to be home, just like your Nana. And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk today about, how we can navigate through that and avoid that if at all possible.
Thanks, Kim. Jason, what would you like to add? What do you see when helping
Well, I
people?
come at from a non-medical side. It's really the ability to perform typical household chores around the house. Anything that'll put you on a ladder raises danger. Anything from changing light bulbs, HVAC, filters, smoke alarms, things like that. Falling off a ladder can definitely change your life. I have some statistics for you. 1 out of 10 falls results in an injury that causes older adults to restrict their activity for a day or more to seek attention from healthcare system. Each year, there are about 3 million emergency department visits that are due to older people falls, and about 1 million fall-related hospitalizations among older adults. Statistically, 1 in 4 seniors will have a fall this year. According to the CDC, falls among adults 65 and older cause 41,000 deaths a year, making it the leading cause of injury death for that group. Additionally, falls result in about $80 billion in medical costs every year, in which Medicare shoulders about 2/3 of that.
How many emergency room visits did you say? Was that
1 million.
1 million.
3 million emergency and 1 million fall-related hospitalizations.
Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, and a lot of money.
And a lot of money, yeah. So you mentioned smoke detectors. What's the challenge there?
Just any high-reach area, you want to stay off any ladders, step ladders, anything like that. And the other issue is poor lighting in your house, clutter in your house, throw rugs on the ground. I mean, there's a lot of obstacles and that you might not be thinking about as obstacles until you have a fall, and then you go, oh, I should have taken that rug out. So
just on that, I'm just curious, just from our audience, Who's still getting on a step ladder or a ladder and knows they shouldn't? Anyone? Another few? Okay, well, good for you admitting it.
Shame on all of you.
Yeah. Yeah, so just every time we do that, please think about it, putting yourself at risk, or how can I do this more safely? And I'm guilty too. I've had some slips getting up on a ladder, and yeah, just need to be really careful. So who did I want to go to? I wanted to go to you, Jason. What are some of the precautions that we can take? You touched on a couple, but what other precautions can we take in our home so we're not putting ourselves in harm's way?
Well, I mentioned the big ones there, but other precautions you can take is putting grab bars in showers, railing by stairs. That's really common.
So let's slow down. Why are grab bars in a shower important?
Well, anytime you have water around, it's really a high-risk slip and fall area. And some of these old shower doors that you have to maneuver to get into, those, you should have those taken out and put just a soft, sheet up or something. There's just so many things that we as safety home specialists, we go in and we help identify those areas for you. We do like an 80-point checklist around the house, outside the house, inside the house, and then we just make recommendations for safety, and then you decide what's the most important thing to you.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned railings. So first, grab bars in the
Hand
shower.
railings, or actually ramps. Sometimes they're temporary, sometimes you need them installed permanently. Anything, when you're stepping up or stepping down, there's a higher risk involved. And uneven grounds in your house, sometimes some of these old houses, especially where I live in Virginia City, there's nothing, level up there, so you have to really watch out.
I'm just curious, who has a handrail but they don't use it? Anyone? A handrail, maybe at the entrance to the house, but you don't use it? Yeah. Why don't we use it when we have the handrails? I say some nodding saying you definitely do use it. Yeah, I'm kind of guilty. Annette and I put in a handrail a while back near our front door, not only for us but for visitors, and I should use it more because any of us can fall at any time. Yeah. So, Kim, what would you like to add to that? What do you see when you're helping people in terms of precautions that they can take in the home?
Yeah. From a medical perspective, we get a lot of referrals from primary care physicians for patients that are falling. Usually they're non-injury because we're getting them from the primary care, or we're getting referrals from a hospital where a patient had an injury fall and, they might have broken a hip or, hit their head or something like that. One of the things that medically a home health company can do is our physical therapists and our occupational therapists can assess for home safety. I did bring with me a home safety checklist. This is a very quick and easy thing that you can utilize to make your home safer today. That's not going to cost you anything. Our PTs and OTs will come in and they'll probably make recommendations if you are having a lot of falls where you might need Jason services for those handrails or things like that. But if you are having, little trips or anything like that, our PTs will say throw rugs are the number one thing that people are tripping on. So if you cannot get rid of your throw rug, they'll recommend that you tape it down so that you're not gonna, that you cannot flip that little corner and trip on that. So I would recommend today, free, easy, something you can do to prevent falls. An occupational therapist will assess for low vision. So if you have an all-white bathroom, and your floor is white and your tub, like Jason said, if you're having to step into your tub, is white, they're gonna, assess, maybe putting bright orange electrical tape so you can see that, that depth and that perception of where one ends and one begins so that you're safer. So that's what a home health agency will do to assess for home safety, just some of those things.
Thank you. It reminds me of one of our attendees from quite a while back. He had come to a similar seminar. I think he heard you, Kim, talk, and he went home and actually glued down all of his rugs. And then he had us come out to sell his home at some time later, and it's like, what's with the rugs? They were literally glued down on the floor. But that's a whole lot better than tripping, isn't it? So, yeah, I thought that was really cool that he'd taken the advice and did something about it and had glued them down. Kerry, what would you like to add?
I think the one thing I would add is emergency preparedness. And I know we had the seminar in January. Show of hands, how many of you came to that talk? Awesome. So you guys are already familiar with the precautions that you can take. But being prepared in advance is so important because you don't know when you're going to have a fall. You don't know when you're going to have an acute health issue. And so making sure that you have your POLST in order, your provider order for life-sustaining treatment, that outlines what your wishes are, is very important. And otherwise, having conversations with your loved ones, with your physicians about the kind of care you want and about the quality of life you hope to have, to really have a clear understanding of your goals when you do face those acute health challenges.
So one thing I haven't heard you talk about is balance. Is that something we need to be concerned of as we age and want to remain independent in our homes? Does anyone want to touch on that?
Yeah, balance is really important. I would say most people assume that falling is maybe because they're falling because of they're deconditioned or they have a balance disorder, but there's so many reasons why someone can fall. It can be an inner ear vestibular issue. If you've ever had vertigo, that is no fun. It could be, an eye issue, a vision issue. So I always recommend that you're seeing your optometrist at least once a year. I just went in, I had a huge vision change. I kind of knew something was going on. If I took these off, I wouldn't be able to see you up front, and that's very unusual for me. So that can happen in a very short period of time. If you're taking a new medication, the first 2 weeks of that medication, you are far more likely to fall and at a huge fall risk. So just knowing your risks, balance, it could be a balance issue, it could be osteoarthritis, but I would say there's a root cause to why you're falling. Movement is really important for all of us. One of my PTs said in a class that she did that movement is the best insurance policy that you can take out on yourself to prevent falls. So yeah, just identifying maybe why you're falling, but making sure you're seeing, that's one thing. I don't know if I'm going off
No, that's
topic.
perfect. Yes.
Okay. But one of the things that I see when I get a referral from someone from the hospital that's had a major medical issue is that they have not seen their primary care physician or they don't have a primary care physician. And so this incident could have been prevented if they were seeing their doctor annually. If you have a chronic condition like COPD, a cardiac issue, diabetes, you're going to want to see your doctor, and your doctor's going to want to see you more than once a year. Routine lab work is really important. And again, it's all to identify, like Carrie had said, preventative medicine, just being aware of any issue that could be brewing so that you can take care of it right away. So you don't have that big event. And then maybe you can't go home like Nana. I'll never forget your grandma now.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Kerry, did I ask you the same question?
I think Kim really covered the key points. I mean, balance is something that you can work on for free today. Walking, getting up and moving, doing exercise, those are all things that you can do today that don't cost anything to prevent your likelihood or risk of falling in the future. I think those are really the key points.
Do you have anything specific that we can do to help our balance? Because I know a lot of us seem to lose our balance as we age because it's not something we work on.
Yeah, there are a lot of different exercises you can do. I mean, this morning I found myself standing on one foot and brushing my teeth just to practice balance. And so there are little things you can do during the day to add into your kind of routine to practice balance. You can also go to physical therapy and they can teach you specific skills and exercises to do to prevent falling. They also can teach you how to fall safely. So when you do have those unexpected falls, you know how to reduce your risk for significant injury.
Thank you. Does anyone else stand on one foot while they're brushing their teeth? I'm going to try that. Oh, there's a couple of people. Yeah. That sounds challenging. I'm going to have to give that a go. Annette, tomorrow morning we're going to stand on one foot, or tonight, brushing our teeth. Right, see how we do. So maybe I can start with you, Kerry. What's one thing that you would recommend based on clients that you help that would help them keep safer in the home? And we'll just kind of do one at a time and go around.
So I think one thing, and I've already touched on this, is preparing and having a clear understanding of what your personal goals are, what your priorities are. Because every person is different. Your desire to stay in your home, for most of you, may be the primary thing that you're looking to achieve. Some of you may want to be close to your kids. There are a lot of different priorities that we can have, and our condition will evolve as we age. I'm 30, and my condition has evolved as I've aged, and so it's just part of the normal evolution of life. And so having a clear understanding of your priorities is a very important first step to take.
Okay, thank you. Kim, you've already mentioned several bullets. Another one with...
I would just say what I've already kind of said is if you haven't seen your doctor, make an appointment today. I don't know if you know this, but we don't have enough doctors in town, and they're all really, really busy. And so don't wait till you're sick. So please call your doctor, make an appointment, make your eye appointment. Just again, making those preventative, medical appointments is really important.
I didn't hear anyone mention dental. Is that important?
Oh yeah, I guess. I mean, no one loves going to the dentist, but yes, absolutely, going to the dentist as well.
Jason, what's one we haven't talked about, mentioned?
Well, I really just think it's important to have your home checked for safety issues. If you can't do it yourself, you don't have a neighbor that come over, that's what we're here for, specializing in that. So it's just really important because I think there's things you're not going to notice not being a specialist in that field of safety. So it's important to just, have that safety check done, and that way you know what you're up against.
No, great advice. Kim, did you bring extra brochures?
Yes, I did. And again, this is not anywhere close to what Jason can do for you, but this is something you could do today. It's, if you are on oxygen, safe ways to carry around your oxygen tubing, or if it's in your bedroom, huge tripping hazard, just, cords and things like that, the rugs. But it's a very quick checklist you can do today to ensure you don't have anything big that can cause a fall.
So I'd suggest picking one of those up from the speaker table when you leave today and just running through and making sure that you can stay safe on all of those. And then you said yours, Jason's like 80 items?
Yeah, 80, 40 inside and 40 outside. We even do, if you have a basement or sub areas, we inspect that for moisture, things of that nature, because there's some dangers in the home that you don't see and you don't even smell. So, I mean, it's a very comprehensive checklist that goes through even attic inspections, everything. So,
fantastic. So we could ask another family member or someone else to go through like your list, Kim, because as you said, Jason, there's things that we don't see when we live in the home all the time. We're used to that rug that's kind of curled up, and we just deal with it until suddenly we trip on it. And I'm thinking of the rug we have in the garage, Annette, that's curled up. Yeah, we should do something about that. Before I trip, or you trip. Yeah, okay. See, we're not perfect either. We have, that's why we love doing these seminars. We're continually learning and realizing, okay, that's something we need to do to stay healthy. So maybe I can go to you, Kerry. So what role do in-home care providers provide, both medical and non-medical, let's start with non-medical, in helping us stay in our homes as long as possible?
That's a great question. So number one, I should just preface this by saying I think the senior care industry in general has a lot of things wrong, one of which is the fact that the names for different types of care are so similar. Like, what is the difference between home care and home health? So non-medical care, also called home care, also called personal care services, also called caregiving, is really to help with activities of daily living. So if you need assistance getting dressed in the morning or taking a shower, if you need help getting to the bathroom or making meals, light housekeeping, laundry, those are ways that a caregiver can come into your home and provide assistance. And that can be done either through a private caregiver or a caregiving agency. And it's really a way to help you maintain your independence in your home without needing to move somewhere with additional support.
So let me just drill down then. So if I'm needing help, I reach out to a non-medical agency preferably. And is there like a minimum number of hours? Are you moving into my house? What does that kind of look like? And what are kind of ballpark kind of costs if I need help?
Yes, great question. So it varies by agency. Many agencies have a minimum number of hours that a caregiver will come out, primarily because one of the things that I found is when someone needs help, they need a few hours of help. They don't just need an hour. And really being able to tackle all of the activities of daily living, it takes more than just an hour. So typically 2 to 4 hour minimum. Some agencies have minimum visits per week. The cost in the area, I want to say, is in the high 30s to low 40s per hour. And really, you can call us anytime or call an agency at any time to say, hey, I need a little bit of support, and talk to them about what support you need. It might be that you need respite care because your partner or your parents or parents-in-law have dementia and someone needs to be monitoring them all the time. It could be that you have just had surgery and you need a little bit of help getting in and out of the shower, putting your clothes on after a total shoulder replacement. So it really varies, and it's very specific and catered to your needs and your situation.
So it can be short term, so after I've had an injury and I just need help until I've fully recovered?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so this is different though to housekeeping. This is not the same as having a housekeeper come in to help with your home.
So our caregivers can help with housekeeping. That is a part of daily living. You need to live in a clean, safe environment. And to touch on the point of safety, I know our caregivers are always looking out for possible safety hazards, whether it's rugs, whether it's a light that's out, and notifying either the family or the care coordinators to make sure that those issues are addressed in a timely fashion.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Kim, let's talk about medical. How is that different to what Kerry's just described to us?
Yeah, so just like what you said, we are the medical component of in-home care. So we are home health. Again, I don't know why they decided to say non-clinical is home care, clinical is home health. But we are for those individuals who have a skilled medical need. So we are kind of, I say, rehabilitation at home, or for those patients who have had maybe an orthopedic surgery, a hospitalization, or as I said, maybe they're falling at home. And so we provide medical care at home for patients who are considered homebound. And that can be a very loose term. I don't want you to get hung up on the homebound, the word homebound. It's for patients, so let's say you had a total hip or some type of knee surgery or something like that, and you temporarily cannot get out to go see a physical therapist 3 times a week after your surgery. So that would qualify you for home health care, where a nurse, physical therapist, occupational therapist will come out and provide care to you in your home until you are rehabilitated and can go to outpatient appointments. Or for someone who is permanently homebound, who has maybe a wound that needs dressed and needs a nurse to come out and do that. Someone who has a Foley catheter, they can't get out to their urologist and they need a nurse to come out and change their catheter. And like I mentioned, maybe it's just someone who's gone to see their primary care doctor and their doctor's saying, asking how things are going. They're like, I have been falling, and that is something to be concerned about. And so they'll call us, we'll come out and do a home safety eval, identify fall risk, and we'll start working with the patient on conditioning and getting to the root reason of why someone's falling, and work with the physician to identify that need and fix that for them.
So am I calling you directly for help, or am I being referred by a doctor, or do I need to go to a doctor first to get a referral? How does that kind of work for you or Kerry? Because you do both, Kerry, don't you? You do... Whoops, that's me, sorry.
So for home care, the non-medical side, you just have to call and say, I need help. For home health, you do need a referral from your medical provider, whether that's a nurse practitioner or a doctor. They will be able to send the referral to a home health provider. And that is covered by insurance. Medicare covers it. If you have a managed care plan, they also will cover it based on you being homebound and having the physician order for it.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, you can always self-refer. To initiate care, we do have to have that order. But if you were to call and say, hey, I am falling a lot, I'm concerned about these issues, then we would just direct you on how to get a referral from your primary care physician, and then we can move forward. And as Carrie mentioned, home health is covered by insurance, unlike in-home care, which is private pay. It is free, and you never hear that anymore, but it is free under your Medicare benefit. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan or Medicare, most commercial insurances cover it. You might have a small copay, but it is free, and it's a temporary program to get you back to where you need to be, but you can have it as many times as you need it. So, and it is the most cost-effective way to get care. The hospital obviously is going to be the most expensive thing as far as medical care, and then skilled nursing, and then home health is very cost-effective.
What about TRICARE?
Yes, the VA does cover home health 100% as well.
And then you mentioned about homebound. So do I have to be in the home I own or rent?
Yeah, great question. So homebound just means that if you're getting PT from us, physical therapy from us, it's because it's really hard for you to go to outpatient physical therapy 3 times a week, maybe because you had, a surgery and you can't drive, or you're just, too sick at the time to make it out. But you can go to church, you can go see your doctors, you can go to family dinners. We just don't want to show up at your house for treatment and you're out playing bingo all day at the casino. So that's really what Medicare is looking at.
Wonderful. And my home, could I be like in independent living or a assisted living community?
Great point. So home is wherever you call home. So whether that's independent living, assisted living, a group home, your daughter's home, that happens a lot. We get patients that are coming out of the hospital and they're just not really safe to be home alone for a little while and they're staying at their daughter's house. So wherever, as long as it's safe for us to be there, we will come to you to provide care. So we can't provide care in a homeless shelter for HIPAA reasons and, for someone that's, doesn't have a home of any kind.
Thank you. So I'll jump to you, Kerry. So how do I go about evaluating a provider, whether it's non-medical or medical? How do I choose someone? Is there anything I should know, or are all organizations created equal?
Absolutely. So first of all, you are consumers in your own healthcare. So you have the right to find a provider that fits your needs, your values, your priorities. So please keep that in mind regardless of whether you're looking for medical or non-medical care. You are in control of the care that you receive. Be your own advocate. So now I'll get off my soapbox, but I would say that the few things that are really important to define early on is making sure that they serve where you live, making sure that they have reliable staffing, making sure that their staff is background checked and thoroughly investigated for clinicians, making sure their licenses are up to date. So asking those kind of deal breaker questions, I think, is number one. And then the second part of it is making sure that they have the same care philosophy that aligns with your values. So if having someone in the home is important, then making sure that they can provide that. If providing continuity of care is your priority, making sure that that provider can give you that continuity of care. So again, being consumers of your own health care and advocating for what your priorities are is a good first step.
Kim, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would just say, I think the question was, when you're choosing in-home versus home health?
Either one. Is there anything
Okay.
we should be aware of to make sure that we're getting someone
You're choosing the
reputable?
right, yeah.
Is it are both of these licensed in some
Yes,
way? Is there a
yeah.
website we can go to, or?
Yeah, perfect. So you can go to cms.gov when you're choosing a medical home health company. We are surveyed and monitored by CMS, Centers for Medicare. So our and you can look up their star ratings just like you can a skilled nursing facility. One thing I would add is they are looking at, for your star ratings, your quality metrics. So what they're going to look at is your ability to keep someone out of the hospital once they come home from the hospital, infection rates, our quality outcomes. They're also looking at our patient satisfaction scores. I would take those a little bit with a grain of salt because we could send out 100 surveys and get 3 back. So sometimes the patient satisfaction scores aren't always accurate. The one thing I would say is you have a lot of education partners that come to this every month, and they utilize, especially if they're in an assisted living, independent living, they utilize home health companies all the time, and they can tell you also who's really good because they have to work with us all the time. You know, who their residents are happy with, who's calling them back, those types of things. So, and everyone in this room, I'm sure, knows someone who has had some type of home health care, I'm assuming. So ask your neighbors, your friends, who they've been happy with.
Great advice. And we have some great education partners. I don't know if they're in the room. Do we have 5-star here in the room? Clearwater, Somerset. Yeah, see, yeah, Colette. So we have a number that are all you could go to, and they'd certainly be able to point you in the right direction. Or they could come and talk to either of you.
Yeah, they can talk to you.
Wonderful.
Can I add a point
Please.
about the home care side? So just so you all are aware, there's a difference between licensed caregiving agencies and independent caregivers. And you have the option of choosing either. Typically, private independent caregivers will be less expensive, but it does require more diligence on your part to interview them, make sure they're a good fit, do the background check, all of that. Working with an agency provides a little bit more support because they'll do the background check. They have to meet state requirements to operate as a licensed agency, and they're also able to provide caregiver backup if your caregiver is sick or needs to take vacation. So there are pros and cons to each, and it's really a matter of figuring out what your priorities are and what your financial options are as well.
Okay, great. Any red flags, any obvious things that might stand out why you wouldn't want a particular person or organisation in your home that you've kind of experienced? Obviously not you personally with your organisations, but you've heard from other clients or that would help?
I think responsiveness is very important, and I know we had this issue this week, making sure that your caregiving or home health team is communicating with you about whether the caregiver is coming, if there are changes in schedule. If they're not communicating with you, that's a red flag, and you have the right to demand more communication or choose to go with a different provider.
So we shouldn't be afraid of changing providers if we can't resolve it?
No, it's definitely a transition. Starting care with any agency, whether it's home health or home care, there's a lot of paperwork, but it is a small hurdle, and it's better that you have a good fit of clinicians and caretakers that can fit seamlessly with your family and your needs.
Kim?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, don't be afraid to, if you're not happy with, you could love your PT that's coming out, but maybe not the nurse. And it could just be a personality conflict, and that's okay. So just as Carrie mentioned, just be advocates for yourself. Call the home health company, ask to speak with the director. Say, hey, I'm not really meshing with my nurse. Can I get someone else? And they absolutely will do that. If you're not happy altogether, it's absolutely okay to switch companies as well. So, you have paid into your Medicare for a really long time, and you have choice, and you get to decide who's coming into your home. It's important. Okay,
great. So Jason, same kind of question to you. When we're having people to come in to help with modifications, is there anything that we should be looking out for? Your organisation's kind of unique, but if we had someone coming in to put in grab bars or a railing and it wasn't you guys, what advice would you give the audience to make sure they're working with someone reputable?
Well, don't watch crime shows because the handyman always did it, So really the most important thing is dealing with a reputable company that actually does background checks, drug-free workplace, clean driving record, they have uniforms on. I mean, we want to be your son-in-law that you actually like, as we come into your home and build that reputation with you. So, so many things can happen to the elderly through scams and things like that. You just have to be very careful of who you're letting into your house. So that's from a non-medical perspective. I wouldn't send anyone to my mom's house without vetting them myself. So everyone should take that same care.
Okay. And just tell me a little bit more about what you do. You mentioned an 80-point checklist. So you kind of come in, kind of go through the home on the 80 points, and then you're giving me a report, and then I need to go find someone to take care of those, or how does that
No,
work?
we actually do all the repairs ourselves. If there's anything larger for us, let's say we find major roof damage or something, that we would sub that out. But we basically take care of all the odds and ends that you don't want to do or shouldn't do, or that just needs repairing. So we're a complete handyman service, but we specialize in senior home safety first to help identify those risks, and then we give a report to you where you can actually look at the options of what's the most important. And we can categorize it like, let's get those grab bars in, let's put railing in, let's get rid of the rugs, you need brighter lights in your house. There's some things that aren't going to cost a lot to do that is worth the investment, because one fall could cost you way more. So it's that ounce of prevention idea that we like to bring to the table to say, hey, it's going to cost you something, but what's it going to cost if you don't do it? So
Okay, thank you. So do I just reach out to you, to safety squads, because my smoke detectors need to be changed? Do I just call each year, can you come do that, or how does that kind of work?
That's exactly how you do it. You just call us and we'll set an appointment for you, and we'll come out. And if it's you just need your batteries changed, we can actually do an assessment on at the same time. Just call us. I have all the information on the panelist table out there. Please grab a packet, and we will be happy to come out and make your home safer.
So is that something you do on a regular schedule then? Because smoke detectors, filters, and things need to be changed?
Yeah, we have a quarterly service that you can go on, that we come out every 3 months and we check your dryer vent. We, again, we go through all the checklists, and we can make it customized to your home as far as things you need done, changing your filters, fixing doorbells. It really doesn't matter what is in front of us, but we can make a regular scheduled visit for you and take care of all the things that your house specifically needs to be looked at.
Okay, thank you. So for us wanting to go home and kind of run through it, what are the ones that come to mind that we should be thinking about? What are the inexpensive things that we can do to be safer? Just run through them so we can write them down.
I think the rugs, just getting rid of your rugs. Anything that you can almost do yourself is important. Check your lighting. Make
what do you
sure
mean by lighting?
If you've got an area like a lot of people's garages don't have great lights in them, and that's a very high risk area of the garage, because it's usually more cluttered than your home. So putting in really nice fluorescent lights in the garage is something that can really reduce your risks there.
You're suggesting we have clutter in our garages? No one has clutter in their garages, do they?
Maybe a couple things. Other things like looking for cords that you could trip over, like Carrie was mentioning. Just anything around your house that you're saying, oh man, I could fall on that.
So what does that look like when you say cords? What might that look like?
Like electrical cords. You've got a light over here and you got a cord running by. Okay. Here's the other thing, your animals. Do you know how many people trip over animals every year? Or you get out of bed and you step on the dog bone. I know I've done it. And it can cause a fall. So having your dog, if you're elderly, maybe putting him in a cage at night, if you can train him to do that, it's going to reduce the risk of a fall.
Has anyone had any close calls with pets being underfoot and not realizing? Yeah, a lot of hands. Yeah, wow. So what are some of the things? We love our pet. You mentioned putting in.
Yeah, put him, have him sleep in another room or a cage or something if it is a risk factor, or put him in the bed with you so you don't trip on him, I guess. But other things you could do is, I really highly recommend grab bars, things of that nature in the house, that anywhere that you're stepping up or stepping down, you should have a rail put in or a grab bar.
So anywhere there's steps, there should be?
Anywhere there's steps. And that's not just inside your house. Keep in mind, we go around the perimeter of the house and in the garage as well, because you have steps in your yard, especially in this area, a hilly area. A lot of yards have steps in them well, and that's a lot of falls. They don't just happen in the house, right? You can trip, stepping up on a curb. I've known many people just step up on a curb, they take a fall, and it changes their life.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of these sound relatively inexpensive things to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, are there any community resources to help those who are, financially challenged to make some of these modifications? Do we have any services here? Because you're obviously a for-profit company. People are going to, pay whatever it costs to do these things. For those who might be challenged, whether it's ourselves or people we know, are we aware of communities? I know you gave me some, Kim and Kerry.
Yeah, there's a new organization. I don't think it's new. I just learned about it, though. It's called, has anyone heard of Rebuilding Together? Awesome. They get grants, and they can come do small fixes around the house, handrails, things like that. I think it's income-based. I think it's rebuildingtogether.org. And then I always recommend Division of Aging Services. They are the greatest resource for anything for anyone aging.
In your handout, we have Rebuilding Together, because Kerry or Kim had sent that to me. So on the resources section of your handout, and we included their phone number.
Another good resource is Care Chest. They provide durable medical equipment to folks who need it at reduced rates or free, depending on your need. And one thing that I think I want to touch on for the last question about small things we can do to kind of keep ourselves safe is think about the different modifications we can make to make activities of daily living easier. So, for example, if you're having a hard time pushing yourself out of bed, there are bed rails that you can get on Amazon that get tucked under your mattress, and it's like $35. And that could help you prevent yourself from falling out of bed or from having a fall when you're getting up from bed. You can also get a toilet seat riser, also a fairly inexpensive solution. I think one thing that the disability community has taught me is that creativity is very important. We had a client recently who absolutely loves rugs, has the most beautiful rugs that they've collected across the world during their travels. And when we walked in and said, you need to pick those rugs up, they were not happy. And one of the suggestions that our team had was to actually hang them up on the walls as tapestry. And they loved that idea because then they could still display the rugs in a way that was safe for them to continue living in their home. And I say that because creativity is so important. We have to find ways to continue living independently, and we might have to change the way we're doing something, but we don't necessarily have to give it up altogether. And so being open to creative solutions will help you live well at home for as long as possible.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you have anything you wanted to add there, Kim?
No, I was just going to add, I didn't mention, the beautiful thing about any in-home care, private or medical, is that they have eyes, they can see, what's going on. They can see the hazards, they can make recommendations. If you're going to outpatient appointments, and again, you have to be homebound to have home care or home health, but if you're going to the doctor and you're going to outpatient PT, those types of things, they can't see the issue. So if you qualify for a home health program, you've had a hospitalization, you have an orthopedic surgery coming up, patients heal better at home, the infection rates are less when you're getting care at home, and those individuals can come into your own. They have eyes, they can see. We go in all the time and find 20 expired medications in someone's medicine cabinet. So just things like that we can help and see and make some changes. So it's one of the benefits.
Thank you. So, Kerry, you'd mentioned to me that we have some education partners that are also instrumental as we want to age in place, and I didn't even think of them in that way. Do you want to just touch on that? I'm putting you on the spot.
Absolutely.
A little reminder?
Our education partners, and there are so many other resources in the community. So the Alzheimer's Association, the Parkinson's Support Network of Northern Nevada. There are a lot of community resources that are available. Having support groups is really helpful, especially as you encounter a new diagnosis for yourself or for a loved one, because you're not experiencing what you're experiencing alone. I promise, as much as you want to be special, you are not special. You are not the only person going through it. And so really leaning on your network, leaning on the community to help you figure out how to navigate different challenges will be really helpful. We have wonderful education partners who do that for disease-specific issues, but then there are other organizations that address kind of broad-based support.
Another one that comes to mind is Sanford Centre for Aging. Who's familiar with Sanford Centre for Aging, part of the School of Medicine at UNR? So they have a couple of programs. The medication therapy management program, I think it's called. If you're taking lots of different medications, they'll do an assessment to see what the interactions are between the various different prescriptions you might be taking, because that ends up leading to balance issues and so forth. And then they also have their, I think it's the Fit Strong program for exercise and a balance program.
They have a companionship program as well as a transportation program. Some of the social services that are available may have a wait list. So if you are looking to take advantage of the free or reduced cost programs, I would encourage you to try to do that as soon as possible so that you can use them when you need them. But there are for-profit on-demand services as well.
And then I think in your handout we have the Washoe County on there. They have some great resources with the Senior Centre. If you're ever needing information, that's also just another great place to go. They're very connected with our community. So let me start with you, Kim. Any success stories in the time that you've spent helping people who are aging in place that you'd like to share?
Yeah. We had a patient who was referred to us pre-surgery. She was having a lot of neck pain, and no matter what she did, it just continued to get worse. She was seeing a neurologist. She was going to have surgery, but the neurologist, kind of as a one last ditch effort, referred in home health to see if there's anything that we could do or identify that could fix the pain or identify what was going on. So one of our physical therapists, Nikki, who's incredible, she, when she went out, again, our therapists are looking at everything. They're looking at the bedroom, the living situation. They want to know, anything that can be a hazard or something that we can fix to help improve someone's life, mobility, whatever it is. She identified that she had a very thick pillow that she was sleeping on every night, and she had the patient lay down, looked at her alignment, and she said, you know what, I want to get rid of that pillow. I want you to use, this particular pillow, and I want to see how that works. Well, her pain went away after a while, and she didn't have to have surgery. So just a small little fix like that.
Seriously, just a pillow.
Huge difference, a pillow.
Pillow.
So if
Who
you have
would've
a really
thought?
big pillow and you're having pain, get
Wow.
rid of it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anyone having problems with their pillow? Yeah, wow. Kerry.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share this one because we had talked to a family early last year. Their father lives independently, has no family or really any friends around apart from his neighbor, and they were concerned about him aging alone and not having any support. He ultimately ended up in the skilled nursing facility and had to have someone come in when he was discharged. Otherwise, they didn't think it was safe. And since then, we've been in there with home care 3 days a week, providing personal care, companionship, helping him with laundry, housekeeping, taking him to run errands to the grocery store. But while our caregiver was there, we were able to identify that he was having significant pain in his shoulders. And so we were able to ultimately bring in home health. We had a physical therapist come, we had an occupational therapist come to help address his mechanics for getting out of bed, for putting his socks and shoes on so that he could continue doing so independently. And he's actually turning 89 on Saturday and is doing really, really well. And so he's benefited from kind of a variety of services that we provide in his home. So.
Thank you. Jason, do you have a success story you'd like to share?
I don't think I have a specific story. Mine is more in line with the relationships we build and the trust we build with the senior community.
Tell us more.
It's just, again, going back to just knowing who's in your home, and that's very important. And I got Darren in the back over there. Raise your hand, Darren. If you want to feel safer and you want to use our services, go and introduce yourself to Darren. We can start the relationship right now. So that's kind of how we do it. We are going to act like these are our parents when we walk in their home, and that's our success.
And I know you come from a servant's heart. You're there really to help people.
Jeff and I, 40 years in pest control, and then And now we're doing this, being inspired by our own parents.
So if not safety squads, are there other options in the community at all here? Because I love what you guys do.
I don't know of any. I get that question a lot, like, is there somebody that does it for free? Yeah, your neighbor down the street probably does, something like that. And people are always helping people out. So, but I'm not aware of any specific organization that is like a handyman service that you can just call. But neighbors are good things, and I know a lot of people, we say, we're a handyman. They go, there's my handyman. So, but that's great. If you can get it done by a neighbor or a friend, by all means do it. But if not, we're there for you.
Yeah, or a son or a grandchild or... Yeah, fantastic. Anything else that any of you would like to add before we go to audience questions? Is there anything we didn't cover today that would be helpful? Well, we did a good job then. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, if you have questions, just raise your hand and our mic runners will come to you. And just before we go to that, next month, Morningstar. Is Morningstar here today with us? They're going to be providing the prize. Morningstar? Might not be, they might have stepped out. We'll be providing the prize if you bring a guest. So, first question over here.
Hi, I don't really have a question, but I just want to make a recommendation. And that's that when I work with my clients about balance, especially seniors.
You just hold the microphone a little bit closer so we can all hear.
Sorry, when I work with my clients, especially seniors, about getting a little bit stronger, a little bit more balance, I have them do everything on their bed or, in my case, on my massage table. And that way they don't have to worry about balance falling or whatever, and they can get their strength going. Whatever they do, if you do flat on your bed, you know you're safe, and you can get a little bit stronger, more
Wonderful.
balanced.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, this side.
Hi, my name is Pat. My husband and I have a saying now, we have outlived our money. And so the number one aspect for us in almost everything that's been discussed today is how much does it cost? And one of the big questions I have, we just completed our trust about a year ago, and I've heard before about a buy down of your assets before you can qualify for Medicaid or get government help for different programs that are available. What is that amount now?
I don't know if any of our panelists have an answer for that. Do you?
I think I know, but I would recommend that you verify. With whom? If you have access to the internet, you can Google it. I actually looked it up 2 or 3 months ago, so I hope my numbers are still accurate. So your asset for an individual needs to be $10,000, and your monthly income, I believe, is $2,900. With the asset buy down, the important thing is that if you do have, let's say, $50,000, that you're not gifting $40,000 to your child. You really have to use your money for your care and spend it in usual ways. Otherwise, the government won't say that you actually qualify. So it is very specific to each person, but when you're looking at getting benefits from Medicaid, talking to, if you have home health or if you have hospice, the social work aspect of those services can actually help you get your Medicaid benefits and help you with enrollment. So that's one option.
Is trust money exempt from that?
Thank you, Kerry. I think next month would be a great time to come along when we have an attorney, because it's really a legal question. And I also know from previously having attorneys on the panel, there's a 5-year look-back period as well. So there's kind of a lot to it. So let's be here next month, and we'll ask Rich Schultz, and I'm sure he'll be able to answer that so that we're not getting ourselves in trouble. But I really appreciate what you're able to help us with there, Kerry. Yeah, so thank you. Back over here on my left.
This question is kind of for Jason. In your home safety, do you also do any kind of analysis on your security systems and like your ring cameras and your outside cameras and your indoor cameras to give the best? There's so many companies out there now that it's hard to find something that would cover it all. And do you do those kind of assessments?
We don't specifically look at fixing those things, okay? But if we see that a camera system would be beneficial for you for a safety purposes, we would make that recommendation. But so we are looking around that. But that's something, usually those are companies that are specific to safety and security with cameras and stuff. That would probably be a better avenue than just like a home safety thing that we would do. But we could install them for you, for example, if you went and bought a ring system at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever, we could do the installation for you.
And I'm assuming you'd change the batteries on a periodic basis that are in my cameras?
Yeah,
so
especially if you're putting cameras up high, I really would recommend calling us to put them in. Anything that puts you on a ladder, again, you want to stay away of.
Great, thank you. Where are we on this side? Thank you, Dan.
I have one quick question for Jason. How much is the initial assessment?
Great question.
Normally, it's $89, but we do have out there, we have a $39 special for this show today. And then if we do any work for you, we just apply that $39 toward it. So it's really free unless you just want the assessment. Normally $89, we have a special for $39 today.
Fantastic. So what am I getting for the $39? You're going to go through that 80-point checklist?
80-point checklist.
So then I'll know the things I need to take action with, whether it's with you or my son or whoever was going to help do it?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing that. That is amazing, isn't it? For $40, a professional coming in and checking out your home? Yeah. Over here with Debbie.
Is there any way, if you have a friend or a relative that you think needs some check on, they're elderly and it looks like maybe not real nice to each other, is there any way to get somebody to check on them or not?
Are you worried that they're being harmed? Or are they living unsafely?
Not harmed, I don't think, but
okay,
that maybe some help would be
a
good thing.
If you're worried that they're living in an unsafe situation, you can always call EPS, Elderly Protective Services. If you want to do that anonymously, and a social worker will go out and identify if someone's unsafe to be home. If you're worried, or if you're wanting them to have some extra help at home, like in-home care, private care, or in-home health care, you can ask them, hey, can I recommend someone to come out and help you, and then can I advocate for you? You can call the doctor's office. They may want to talk to their patient first, but you could always advocate on their behalf to get them some extra help. But if you're concerned about their well-being, because maybe they're home and they shouldn't be, they're not safe to be home, I would say EPS. Did that answer your question? So if they're 55 and younger, it's Adult Protective Services. If they're 55 and older, it's Elderly Protective Services, and that's through the county. Yeah. And they're not going to take someone out of their home, or they're just going to identify issues and make recommendations, that kind of thing.
Do we have any resources for doing just like a wellness check?
Yes, and this happens all the time. Someone has an elderly mom or dad that lives alone. They haven't heard from them in a couple of days. They live out of town. They can't check. You can call non-emergency Reno PD or Washoe County and just say, hey, can you do, and we do it all the time on our patients. If we can't get a hold of a patient, they're not answering a door, we'll call and they'll do a well check and they'll get in the house and see if they're found down.
Okay. Thank you. And then obviously they know how to move forward from there. Great. Good question. Over here, where's Dan? Thank you, Dan.
Hi, my name is Pam. I do not have a question, but I do have a situation that would be helpful for people, and that is the use of remote control units for lights, things like that. I have a bedroom strip light that is on a remote control. I can hit that, my bedroom is lit up before I get down the hall to it. Same thing with my living room. I'm in an old house. No overhead lighting on the remote to shut them on and off, especially in the evening if you're tired. Remote control for the air fryer, the Keurig, all those types of things. You don't need to get up and walk to them to do that, and those are very helpful. This is where Jason could probably come in handy too. You need to have a receiver unit plugged into your wall outlet. Well, I have to move the couch. I'm fortunate to have family to do that, but that's where Safety Solutions would be able to come out, move your chair or whatever it is, and get you set up with that. And I think that's a safety issue because you don't have to have the mobility to do that, and you're not going to be risking a fall by hitting a remote.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I love that because that touches on the creativity that I was talking about earlier. Technology has helped us so much. We have someone recently who accidentally left a lamb chop cooking in the oven for too long, and the fire department ended up coming. We were able to install an automatic off switch on the oven. And so there are a lot of ways to make your home safer and allow you to stay independent in your home. So it just takes a little bit of creativity, talking to people, leaning on your community and resources to come up with different solutions.
Debbie.
Question in regards to wheelchairs. Is there a service you offer or someone out there who can train on advanced techniques, specifically being able to pop a low-level wheelie to get over a bump?
Our physical therapists, occupational therapists will help with safe transfers and use of medical equipment, durable medical equipment like wheelchairs, walkers. They'll do that full assessment when they come to the home. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any more hands on this side? Oh, any on the left-hand side, and Debbie will get two over here, Debbie. Yeah, please.
Oh,
yes.
I'm Vicki Carlson, and something that was not covered here is something that we're dealing with. My husband has neuropathy in his legs and has balance issues, and he falls. So my choices are to call the fire department for a lift assist, or leave him on the floor, put a blanket on him and give him a pillow. So this morning, I was talking to my son who lives in North Carolina, and he found something online called a people lifter upper. And I ordered one because my husband can't get up. I'm even with PT and all the rest. He's just not able to get up. So, and I can't do it. I can't lift him, and I don't want to bother if it's outside, obviously, I would call the fire department, but if it's in our bedroom, this is a people lifter upper that you can order, and it's battery operated, and he can scoot himself over to it and then press a button, and it lifts him up off the floor. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Vicki. It's amazing what we have
Can
available
I
to us
make
now.
2 quick comments?
Yeah, please.
One, for people who don't know, if you do fall and you call emergency services, they will come and lift you up without needing to go to the hospital. If you are injured, then they will offer you to go to the hospital, but you don't have to, and it won't cost you anything for them to come lift you up. The second thing, again, technology is an amazing thing, and there are so many tools and devices that are available online. So really figuring out, identifying what your issues are is really the first step in figuring out how to solve them.
Thank you for sharing that, Vicki. A people lifter upper, for those who are taking notes.
This question is for Jason. If you come to someone that lives in a condo and do your evaluation. Obviously, you can check out things inside that need to be changed and so on. But if something exterior needs to be changed for safety reasons, would you or your company be able to be of any help in getting that past the board that has to, you know, if you want to put a toothpick on your front porch?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because we would still make recommendations for the outside, but of course the homeowners company there would probably be the ones that would say they want to do the work. But I don't think it would hurt to have our report from a safety specialist to go to the board with. I mean, if you want us to go to the board for you, I mean, I'll make a call, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question, because we honestly, we don't do a lot of condos. It's mostly, you know, single-family homes is the bulk of our business. But interesting question. Thank you.
Who's our next? Yep. Patricia?
Hello. I just wanted to share some information. In Reno, I have 5 clients that I'm a companion to. They all get phone calls once a day from a unit in the Reno PD, a well-check phone call. If they don't get an answer to the phone call, they make a visit to the door. And in addition to that, they provide a meal for a senior. The last meal was a Los Compadres $50 gift card to the senior, that one of my seniors that I'm a companion to. And so she had a nice lunch, and she has the well care, and I just didn't know if anybody knew that in Reno.
So who would someone reach out to for that service if they were wanting regular? Reno PD are able to provide that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Just show of hands if you have a question. Down the front here, Debbie. Any questions on my right side? And over on the far right. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, just some information to share about when somebody falls, because we've had that happen. If you have Alexa or Google, you know, when you're laying there on the floor, you can say, hey, Alexa, call non-emergency. You have it set up, and they come right out. I mean, the fire department or the police, and they did the same thing. You know, they helped us up, and they even had an ambulance on standby, you know, just in case. But again, it was no charge, and the whole, yeah, if you got a, yeah, we got a watch too that calls when I fall down. So. But that whole Alexa thing, I use it to remind me to take my pills, or, you know, it's time to do this or do that.
Thank you for sharing. It goes back to what Kerry was saying, using technology or being aware of it. Yeah, so if you have an Alexa or a Siri or any of those similar devices, maybe get someone to help you set it up for being able to call emergency services in the event of falling and not being able to get to a phone. Great tip. Yes?
So, yes, technology is wonderful. However, with my spouse's intellectual decline, technology is becoming more and more difficult. So, Jason or anyone, do you provide any services that would, for example, make this new smart TV easier to use for him? So that, you know, you press a button and it does one thing, and then you press that same button the next day and it does something else.
I recommend a 13-year-old. Can you find one of those?
I understand that. I don't have a 13-year-old.
A neighbor, a teenager of any kind.
One possible option, and it depends on kind of what aspect he's struggling with, is either putting neon tape on the button he's actually supposed to click, or having just one-page instructions on click red button first, click blue button second.
I have all of those instructions, yes, and picture of the remote and which buttons you're supposed to hit. But and when we had the old TV and the old hooked up to dish, that all worked fairly well. It's the newer technology that is becoming so challenging because it has a mind of its own.
I think we can all relate to that. New technology can get confusing sometimes with all those buttons and options.
When buying new devices, I think that's something to keep in mind. Even if you are able to navigate 5 different remotes today, that might not be the case tomorrow. And so planning ahead and being aware of possible challenges you might encounter is a great way to make purchases that will live with you for a long time.
But things just are becoming more and more complicated. They're not something where you can say, well, I'll buy this one because it's simple and will be easier for me as my mind becomes more deranged. That's becoming less and less available.
You're right. It's hard to find simple. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. I wish we had a good answer. Debbie?
Kimberly, can you clarify the Medicare and home health care? It pays for it. Do every X number of months they have to renew it or some such thing?
Yes, so the first, if you have traditional Medicaid, the first 60 days is covered. So essentially, all of the clinicians that are coming out into the home are charting vigorously to let Medicare know why you need the service. So if after the first initial certification period, you continue to need the service, you haven't met the goals set by your care team, they can recertify you based on need. Medicare Advantage plans are a little different. Their cert periods are a little shorter. They want extensive documentation why you need the service. That's same with skilled nursing. If you have traditional Medicare, sometimes you get a little longer of a stay. The same goes with home health. So yes, your team of clinicians are constantly documenting why you need the care, and then after a certain amount of time, if you haven't met your therapy goals or you're still needing wound care or whatever it is, they're going to recertify you. So
Thank you. Just for those who are still here in the room, I know some people had to leave, just show of hands if you've got one action that you're willing to take after today. There's one thing that you're going to do, and there's a section on your page just to write it down. I would encourage you to do so. Actually, mic runners, I'd love to just get a couple. Can you raise your hands again if you've got one action and you're willing to share that with the audience? What's one action you're going to take leaving today? Call Jason. Call Jason. That's a great action. Call Jason.
I'm going to ask AI what seniors might find helpful with new technology.
Fantastic. Who else? Anyone else willing to share? One action.
I'm going to call my primary physician. I've seen at my cancer cardiologist and everyone else. I thought, oh yeah, time for the primary checkup too.
There's probably a lot of us that could do that. Probably haven't seen our primary care in a while.
Make an eye appointment.
Make an eye appointment. Go see the optometrist. I love it. Yes. I think I'm overdue for that as well. Just over here, Vicky has her hand up.
The use of Alexa for pill reminders, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a powerful tool. Reminders. And down the back.
I'm going to get rid of my throw rugs.
Get rid of the throw rugs, or maybe even hanging them on a wall if they're decorative. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing those. And yeah, I just encourage everyone to come down with an action item. Yeah. And a huge thank you for you being here, being better educated, and for our panelists. We wish you all a blessed day, and we hope to see you all again next month. Thank you so much again for being here.